So it is very rare that I ever do a voiceover, but I figured why not try one. It was about 4:33 and I'd just gotten home from work. I really hadn't had much to eat. Well, I probably hadn't had anything. I'd probably had so many coffees though. And I figured we would walk into the garage and just kind of just test a few things out. I'd had a router, like a kind of like a planer or something like that to surface the top of like a pallet wood. So I kind of just come up with this little jig, and you can see it here in the video. It's just, bits of scrap metal that I'd had lying around, and I just whacked it all together. So I figured I'd go through and just take you through a few steps. You can see it's pretty much just going to float across the two side rails that are about 30 or 40 mil by 40 mil, and it's just going to float over those guide rails. I've seen previous like surfacing jigs where the router kind of moves in like a slot, but I figured this would be a whole lot easier to just do it this way. So yeah, and the bottom base is just some 1/2 inch scrap MDF. You can see it's pretty much beat up. So I decided to pick some hardware. I ended up going with some small little bolts, and I had so many of these little packs that I bought when they were super cheap from Bunnings Warehouse, which is kind of like some sort of a hardware shop. And yeah, so I picked them up super cheap. I think they were about $2 or actually probably $3 max, if that. So I picked them up, and I'm just pretty much going through all the hardware, getting it all organised. Later on I do whack some spring washers on, but you can see here I'm just testing the depth just by holding the little bolt right next to it. And because I want the router and the top to kind of slide over, I can't have it protrude, so I'm just gonna screw a few holes and we're gonna go from there. But right now I'm just marking out where I need it to be, just with a old carpenter's pencil, which, funny thing is, my nan used to work in a pencil factory back in like the 50s, so I remember after she passed away, when we cleaned out her house, she had like thousands and thousands of these pencils, and they're actually pretty expensive to buy these days. And we're getting completely off topic here, but yeah, you can see me marking out these little things, getting ready to drill. I'm just using a washer here just to mark out the edges where I'm going to round over. But yeah, so when we cleaned out her place, there was tons of pencils. Like, I mean, boxes and boxes of them. There were so many. So, and yep, and now we're back. I was just getting a bit distracted. So we are back, and we're just marking out where I'm actually going to drill these holes. I'm going to drill them, and then later on you see me, and I use the MDF as a bit of a guide. Instead of just drilling the holes in the MDF and then going back and replacing the holes on the tubular steel, I pretty much just drill right through, and you'll see this in a little bit. And obviously I'm blocking the camera, but so yeah, I'm just, I really actually took my time to kind of mark this thing out and get it, really, the quality that it should be, I'll say. And that square that I'm using, I think it come from Sheffield or something like that, some UK brand, Sheffield I think it is. That square actually come from some like reuse place where they sell all reused tools. So I got that for like $3, so it's coming very handy. And you can see here now I've drilled all those holes, and now I've come back and I've actually clamped that metal rail, and I'm using the MDF as actually a little bit of a guide, so I can drill all the way through, and it's, you know, centered and everything is where it should be. And you can see when I flip it over, you can see that I've got a little bit of a guide. And here is all the washers that I'm using, and so pretty much I just screwed that on. I had a flat washer and a normal washer in the bolt, and now we're just pretty much going through how I'm going to attach the hold down clamp, you know, holding the workpiece down. And these two little screw things I made like a year ago, and that's not me giving the peace sign, that's me saying there's not one, there's two of them. So I figured we'd try to use these instead of using those bolts that are sitting on the scrap piece of pallet wood. And this is actually why the, you know, this surfacing jig thing come around, because I like using pallet wood, but it was never square. It was always warped, like absolutely warped to hell. So you can see me cutting this little piece of, you know, 40 by 40 square tube, which is the same material the rails are made out of, and I'm pretty much just cutting that with the metal cutting bandsaw. So slicing that like a hot knife through butter, and so I just check it, see if it fits, and there's a little bit of wobble. Like you can see, it's probably about a mil short, but that's fine. You know, I don't want it to be super snug and tight. So that's pretty much it, and you can see how it's going to look when that piece holds it down. And yeah, so here I am, I'm just checking again with these little kind of homemade screws. I don't really want to cut the threads too short, so I think what I'm going to do is I'm just going to leave them, and I'm going to kind of build like a little raised platform, and then we can go from there. And here I am marking out for the holes that I'm going to use to hold that piece of metal down to the workpiece. But in a different video, I actually come back and it was really close to the workpiece, so it was kind of limiting my, you know, range of thickness that I could like surface down. So I ended up going back and remarking it,